The human brain is programmed to connect as strongly as the instinct for physical survival. Healthy communication and quality relationships are of vital importance in building a bridge from isolation to belonging. In today's digitalizing world, popular culture glorifies individuality as a badge of freedom, turning the motto "I prefer quality loneliness over being lonely in a crowd" into a sanctuary for the modern individual. However, this assertive statement is often a defense mechanism, an effort to escape from past disappointments, the fear of rejection, and the responsibilities brought by social interaction. Throughout the evolutionary process, human nature has been biologically and psychologically programmed to form bonds in order to survive. When looking at the neurobiological and psychological background of isolation, neuroscientific research proves that social isolation and rejection stimulate the anterior cingulate cortex in the brain, the same regions associated with physical pain. For our brains, being excluded is equivalent to a physical injury. Conversely, secure and healthy relationships activate the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering the stress hormone cortisol, strengthening the immune system, and extending lifespan by preserving telomere length. While quality loneliness is extremely valuable as a mental rest stop and a process of self-reflection, when it is turned into a lifestyle by building defensive walls, it carries the risk of emotional atrophy, where empathy weakens, emotional agility is lost, and a deep sense of meaninglessness prevails. Building quality relationships is not a matter of coincidence or the luck of finding the right person, but a matter of developable psychological competence. When good intentions are not embodied through correct communication techniques, the message is exposed to noise during the transmission phase and becomes distorted. Here are the fundamental strategies that will deepen your bonds and make the emotional foundation of your relationships unshakable. Keeping interest and love maps updated is the first important strategy. Within every individual's mind, there is a complex love map consisting of values, current anxieties, secret dreams, and sensitivities stemming from childhood that only they know. The depth of the psychological bond is directly proportional to how well you master this inner map of your partner or friend. Knowing not just someone's favorite food, but the memory that food evokes in them or their greatest source of stress at work today, sends the message: I don't just see you. I find you worth knowing. This interest satisfies the need to be seen, creating a foundation of basic trust and belonging. Humans are not static beings. Life events change the map fundamentally. Acting on old information is like hitting a dead end because the navigation hasn't been updated. For example, failing to notice that a friend who used to be social now needs silence, and instead pressuring them to be like you used to be, weakens the bond. Therefore, you should move beyond routine and operational conversations and update the mental map at least once a week with exploratory questions like, what has been occupying your mind the most lately, or what has made you most proud recently? The transformative power of appreciation and gratitude is another fundamental element. Evolutionarily, the human mind is prone to negativity bias, to notice dangers. Because of this mechanism, we catch our loved ones' mistakes like a radar, while we take their positive contributions for granted, coding them as duties they should already be doing. According to behavioral psychology, positive behaviors that are not appreciated or reinforced extinguish over time. In an individual who receives constant criticism but no appreciation, learned helplessness develops, and they disconnect from the bond with the feeling of no matter what I do, I am inadequate. Instead of seeing your partner setting the table every evening as a mundane routine, saying, showing this care for us after a busy day makes me feel valued. Thank you, ensures that behavior continues as a language of love, rather than a burden. Here, you should avoid vague and empty praises like "you're great," and specifically express the effort the other person spent and the emotion that effort created in you. Protecting the emotional bank account strategy argues that healthy relationships have a mathematical balance. According to psychologist John Gottman, the ratio of positive interactions to negative ones should be at least 5-1. Every relationship is like an emotional bank account that grows with the investments the parties make in each other. If this account is constantly depleted by criticism, indifference, or sarcasm, the account falls into the negative, and no tolerance credit remains in the system. In this case, even a simple question like, "Why are you late?" can turn into a major battle because the other side perceives it as an attack. You should invest when the relationship is not in crisis. Make deposits into the account with a supportive message during the day, a sincere hug, or active listening. This accumulation acts as emotional insurance that prevents the relationship from going bankrupt during inevitable moments of conflict. Noticing and responding to emotional bids is the hidden language of communication. Communication is not always established with direct sentences. Parties often send emotional bids to each other. This is sometimes a sigh, sometimes a desire to share an article, or a detail pointed out by saying, "Look at this." A friend looking out the window and saying, "The weather is so gloomy today," is actually a bid to share a moment with me. Continuing to look at your phone while just saying, "Haha," is rejecting the bid. However, turning to them and saying, "Yes, it really is. How did it affect your energy?" is turning toward the bid. Consistently rejected bids lead to parties eventually turning their backs on each other. Building quality bonds requires an attentional awareness to catch these subtle signals. Soft startups in the use of I language and refer to the tone in the first 3 minutes that determines how an argument will end. Harsh and accusatory you language startups stimulate the amygdala region of the brain, triggering the fight or flight response. Instead of saying, "You've messed up the house again," "You are so irresponsible," you should apply the I language formula. First, make an observational statement like, "When I see that the clothes in the living room aren't picked up," then take responsibility for the emotion by saying, "I feel a bit tense because I am very tired." And finally, make a solution-oriented request by saying, "Can we please tidy this up together so we can rest this evening?" When you separate the problem from the person's character and turn it into a situation, the other party becomes your solution partner rather than your enemy. Repair attempts and the sense of shared responsibility do not mean a healthy relationship is without conflict. On the contrary, it determines the quality of the conflict. When the pulse rises during an argument, logical thinking is disabled, and this condition is called emotional flooding. In this situation, saying, "I am very angry right now. Let's take a 20-minute break so we don't hurt each other," is a vital repair attempt. The passion to be right is the biggest mistake that causes the loss of the relationship. Therefore, being able to ask, "What is my share in this problem?" breaks down defensive walls. The perspective of "we are on the same team, and this problem is our common opponent" brings the peace of the solution instead of the war of egos. In conclusion, quality relationships are not a stroke of luck, but the product of conscious effort and learned grace. When we step out of the false comfort of isolation and start using communication techniques like instruments, our individual happiness will take root and our social bonds will become more resilient. The greatest wealth is bonds where you can lean your back with confidence, where the emotional bank account is full, and where mutual recognition exists. Which strategy do you use most in communication? I look forward to your answers in the comments.